Please welcome to the stage the Hamilton family, Aaron and Billy and Molly and Will.
5 years ago, I sat in this very room for the first time. I was in that back corner, and I was so overwhelmed by the love and the support that was in this room and the generosity that I had tears in my eyes, and I had to excuse myself out that back door. And now I stand here in front of you. Oh, how far we come. We're here tonight to share a little bit about our journey with cystic fibrosis and how it's affected our lives. In 2008, our family looked much like many others. We were young and active. We had a precious and very busy 20-month-old son. We were expecting our second child. We were beyond excited and a little bit nervous. Our beautiful daughter, Molly, was born in February. We were overjoyed and completely unprepared for what was to come. Late one night, about a week later, I received a phone call from our pediatrician. And any parent in this room knows an after-hours call from the pediatrician is rarely good news. She asked me to sit down and simply said, "Do you know what cystic fibrosis is?" I didn't. "Please don't read anything online," she warned. "There's a lot of misinformation out there." So, naturally, holding Molly in one arm and my phone with my shoulder, I immediately sat down to our computer and opened up Google. And I said, "How do you spell cystic fibrosis again?" While she continued to tell us about our next steps, I read the first line of a blog written by a mother of a child with cystic fibrosis. It read, "We lost our daughter at age 19 to CF." I was absolutely crushed. This diagnosis was devastating. We knew nothing of CF and were heartbroken to learn that this genetic disease was life-shortening and had no cure. The idea of outliving my baby became all too real. I was terrified, angry, and lost. I couldn't even say the words cystic fibrosis for about a year because saying those words made this situation real. And it made me feel powerless as a mom. There were many moments where, ironically, I really had to remind myself to just breathe. Days later, we were sent to Children's Hospital where we met Dr. Ramsey and her incredible staff. We were immediately enveloped in wraparound care. We heard words like genetic mutation, and this is a fun one when you're a new mom, life expectancy. Tests showed that both our mutations were very rare. And most of this conversation honestly flew right by me. But as we left, I looked at my husband, and he was crying. And I thought, what? What now? Well, he's much more of a details kind of man, and he understands the implications immediately. He explained to me that science is most likely going to spend money and focus on the most common forms of cystic fibrosis, not our rare forms. Basically, we were sunk. It was another low point for us. We continued monthly visits to the CF clinic with Dr. Ramsey, and our plan for Molly was really quite simple. Treat her symptoms and keep her as healthy as possible for as long as possible. to have some shot at research finding us a cure. I was hanging every hope on the belief that one day we would find an answer for her. 4 years later, at one of her appointments, Dr. Ramsey was very excited to share some news about a new drug that was in trials and showing amazing results. In fact, exceeding the expectations of medical experts. This drug, Kalydeco, was a game changer. Because for the first time, we were allowed to treat the underlying cause of cystic fibrosis, not simply treat the symptoms. It turned out that Molly had that mutation and was a candidate for this new drug. I remember feeling like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, and we had just unwrapped that golden ticket. This drug really has been the golden ticket for our Molly. But there's a catch. This drug only works in about 4% of the CF population, and with only one rare mutation. It doesn't work for 96%. I'm going to let Billy share a little bit about his experience with cystic fibrosis and more about Kalydeco.
So as a father, in the first few days after hearing that your daughter has this life-shortening disease, the thing that immediately strikes you is, I can't solve this for her. And that's devastating. Up to this point in my life, my worldview really was, hey, I can solve any problem. I can fix any issue. I can kind of get where I want to get, so long as I work hard enough and smart enough. And kind of the very cold, uncaring reality of this disease was, we don't have a cure. And that was a real kind of punch in the gut. And the way that I dealt with that was to go into a mode of, okay, what's the plan here? Who's doing what from a treatment perspective and a research perspective? And so I started looking into what the CF Foundation was doing. And one of the things that I learned early on was, just 30 years ago, many of these kids were not making it out of elementary school. And because of the work that the foundation had done over those 30 years and with their supporters, they've improved the life expectancy now to 37 years. That's an incredible body of work. But how did we go from some of these treatments that affect the symptoms of the disease to a drug like Kalydeco that affects the underlying cause of the disease? Well, about 16 years ago, the CF Foundation did something that was absolutely groundbreaking. You see, one of the problems with cystic fibrosis is that it only affects about 30,000 people in the US. And when you compare that to 14 million people that have cancer, for example, you can see why the drug companies might be reluctant to make an investment in a disease like cystic fibrosis. So the foundation, realizing this, said, hey, we have to change the game here. We need to take some big shots on goal in order to find a cure for this disease. And so what they did is they pioneered this notion of venture philanthropy. They went in with the drug companies from a financial perspective to reduce that risk. It had never been done before. And now it's a model that many other foundations and charities are using today. And out of one of those ventures with a small biosciences company, they got a big hit. And that hit became Kalydeco. So Molly went on Kaleido about 2 years ago, October of 2012, and the results were immediate. Within 6 weeks, she had gained 20% in body weight. And that might not sound like a lot, but that would be like adding 30 pounds to my frame. It was a huge amount. And the coughing that she was having that was waking her up at night, that went away. When you kissed her, she kind of tasted like a salt lick. That went away. And so the big news came that following February, we had her retested for cystic fibrosis. It's called the sweat test. It tests the chloride in your sweat. And a result above 60 is positive for CF, and below 40 is normal. And when she was a couple of days old, results came back at a 98. And so we had her retested in February, and the result that came back was 18. She would not have even tested positive for CF. So how's that for a game changer? It's amazing. So where does the CF Foundation get its funding in order to make drugs like Kaleido possible? Well, they're 100% funded from individual contributors. It's because of the people in this room and because of the people that have come before us that decided that they wanted to make a difference with this disease and they wanted to be part of something big that we have Kaleido today. The other thing that you should know is that the foundation is incredibly efficient with their money. Almost 90 cents of every dollar goes straight into patient care or drug research. And because of that, they were named #1 on Wall Street Journal's Smart Money's list of the top healthcare nonprofits. #1. It's absolutely amazing. So when you kind of bring all of this together, what we have is an organization that is a pioneer in the industry and has really led the way in taking some big shots on goal and scored a big win. They also have another 12 drugs in the pipeline today, some of which are being tested to be taken together with Kaleido. So you also have an organization that's incredibly efficient with their dollars, and you have the cause and who it affects. And so all of that just gives us a tremendous opportunity to each be part of the next big shot on goal, and the next one, and the next one, until we get to a place where 100% of the kids that have cystic fibrosis have what Molly has, a pill that takes their cystic fibrosis away. That's what Aaron and I want for everyone that has cystic fibrosis. We've done it for 4%, but that's not good enough yet. We need to do it for 100% of the population, the other 96%. So I hope that you will join us tonight in being part of something big, being part of the venture philanthropy that the CF Foundation has pioneered, and being part of that next big shot on goal that will change the lives of those living with CF today. Thank you.